All right, hi, Addy. Really nice to welcome you here to my chat room. I would like to, could you briefly introduce yourself to the audience, who you are and how you came to speak both languages?
Yes, of course. Hi, I am Addy Holly. I am a Chinese adoptee from, excuse me, from New York. I came to learn Mandarin as a way to connect with my, I guess, my heritage. So I was adopted at 10 months old from Hunan. And I immediately became a US citizen. I'd like to think of myself as a New Yorker, and in New York, I went to a Chinese immersion high school. So I spent 4 years learning Mandarin and other subjects, but Mandarin was very much the main focus. And then I also got to learn more about Chinese culture, which I had previously not been as exposed to. But that's really how I have begun my journey as a language learner.
I see. Do you like to speaking Chinese?
It's not. I'm not very good at it. Do you want me to try and say anything?
If you wanted, there's it's fine. I just want curious because most of it, even I've got kids born in the UK, and one of them do not like speaking Chinese at all, and I sent them to the Chinese language school, and I gave up actually. So they prefer to speak. One of my kids still prefer to speak English most of the time. I'm just curious that when you learn Chinese, do you like speaking Chinese?
I do. I do. Not when I guess on my own terms. So I feel I'm not confident enough to speak it in public yet, but in a classroom setting and when I'm just trying to, I guess, make new friends, I try to. And I like to. It's just that as my level and my comprehension gets better, then I'll be more comfortable.
Yeah, and I can tell that when you speak Chinese and you just find some people know their culture more as well. And
Definitely.
do you feel it quite different? The culture background are quite different from English background because you're from the so you're brought up in New York, and I believe that the New Yorker culture is even more open than the UK culture, I would say.
Yes.
So do you feel that difference when you talk to Chinese who are originally from China?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that in New York, I have an advantage because I was raised there. But I do feel that there are a lot more American Chinese people than I've met as compared to the UK to like British Chinese people. But that may be because I'm not exposed enough. I haven't been here long enough. But I would say that yeah, New York is definitely has been is a very open space for Chinese culture, all sorts of cultures. But I definitely have been more immersed in New York than I have been here. That's partially the reason why, though, I'm here today to really explore the British Chinese voice. Um,
That's interesting. Yeah. How long have you been living in the UK so far?
I moved here for university in 2023. Um,
Okay.
late 2023, fall of 2023, that's when I first moved here, and I haven't looked back ever since. It was my first time really like living alone, and I'd visited the UK for like a week or so prior when I was really young, but I think I just settled down and just started making my own life.
So when you brought up in New York, would you think that gave you the most pride that you think, oh, I'm a New Yorker, I'm in a big city, and when you come across with other people's, um, then give you the confidence, self-confidence when you talk to other people.
Definitely, I think in a way I'm naturally very loud. And that will probably come up more in this interview, but naturally I'm very curious and very enthusiastic. I'd like to think so. And so being a New Yorker and an American definitely helped me build those qualities, but I would say that they were only cultivated. I was just born this way. Um, but yeah, I take pride in being from New York. I take pride in also understanding my American Chinese identity through being a New Yorker, because it's a cosmopolitan area, just like how London is. So I could really explore it and expose myself to it.
So how you feel about the British Chinese then? The British Chinese culture is more traditional
Yeah,
comparing to the New York.
um, I would say that it is slightly more, but again, it's only because I have a very surface level view of it so far. And I really, really hope to deepen my involvement and understanding of the British Chinese experience here. Um, uh, but yeah, I think it's amazing.
Even I think even between some words from English, we have different kind of concept of the same word in English and from the New York from the USA is totally different meaning. For example, for football, and
Yeah.
here is totally different things. So how you come across that kind of a cultural differences that do you come across any jokes or
Oh,
any cultural impacts to yourself?
yes, definitely. I mean, there are different levels to this. I mean, there's the American British, and then there's the American Chinese and the British Chinese aspect. So it's layered. But I would say the cultural shock is definitely, it still hits me to this day. I've been here. I'm entering my third year, and I guess I learn something new every day about British English and American English, and kind of similar to just Chinese and Western society. But either way, I just take it all in. I find it fascinating. So
Yeah, and I think people's approaching to you will be very kind most of the time that when they tell the difference, cultural differences. And would you think they will recognize you as a Chinese or a American or what background would you think?
definitely more American, and I honestly, I agree with that. Being adopted into a white American family. From a very young age, I have been very westernized. I am very westernized. But I've also made efforts to try and, yeah, again, touch back and connect with this Chinese aspect of me. I mean, I am Chinese, genetically speaking, obviously, but culturally and consciously, I'm trying to build more of a Chinese presence. But for the most part, I would say that most Chinese people see me as American or Western, whereas non-Chinese people see me as Chinese and Western. You know what I mean?
So whose side, which side is much nicer, would you think? So it's hard to tell. Yeah, because myself, or on this side, I would say I've been living in the UK for over 20, and 23 years, 24 years. So I still found difficulties of integrating to the local society because from the color I've looked, obviously I'm a Chinese, but sometimes when we talk about the culture backgrounds, and I can see the cultural difference, especially when we come to the point of education to our kids, and there is a lot of conflicts between, and I would say the Western culture is more open, sharing the information is more a common sense, but in Eastern culture, we are more conservative. We just want to hold up all our feelings and our emotions back down there. So I'm very impressed to see how you grown up so confidently in a white American families because
Definitely.
I would say they made a good job. They grow you up in such a nice environment. So
Mhm.
how do you feel more connected to Chinese culture through your language and through other traditions? So how you feel that round? Do you have any friends? I mean, do you have any friends from Chinese background originally?
I do. I do. I have, there's all sorts of friends that I've made that kind of help me connect on different levels and in different ways. Each individual is different, but I have from high school a friend who's also a Chinese adoptee. And so she is very westernized as well. And so we can kind of connect with each other. I also have friends who are Chinese, who Well, a lot of them here, I mean, because Queen Mary is a very globalized institution. But there are some friends who are also Chinese American who have Chinese parents, who speak Chinese at home, who definitely are more balanced, have a more balanced Chinese American identity. Um, but I mean, they still prefer to speak English a lot of the time because of me. They're accommodating to me. But I've met people here who are Taiwanese. I've made friends who are from Singapore, Malaysia, all different areas. And mainland Chinese, I would say I've met in my accommodation a lot of mainland Chinese people, um, because I would say the majority of residents here are mainland Chinese, up to the point where like it is kind of hard to communicate sometimes because they don't speak much English, and I unfortunately do not speak much Mandarin. But it's a lovely. It's I love having a plethora of different relationships and my relationship with Chinese culture and language.
Are you afraid of telling people that you're adoptees?
No, in a way, I think a lot of people are, and I was talking to Xiaoxin about this, who's I mean, when I met with her, and I said, do you were you ever hesitant? I asked her, were you ever hesitant? Or do people ever treat you weirdly after? And the thing is, not really. I'm confident to tell them that I am, and that's one of the reasons why I look like this, but I don't speak much Mandarin. And of course, it's not justifying myself in any way. It's not to say, like I'm not insecure about it because that's just how it is, and that's how my life is. And I take pride in being adopted and having the life that my birth family kind of allowed to give me, that my adopted family gave me. And so yeah, I'm not hesitant at all. I'm also a very open person, kind of like what you were talking about in Chinese culture, where it's kind of more reserved. You know, people are a bit more quiet usually. For me, it's the opposite, and perhaps that's the American part of me. But again, I kind of do think I was just naturally born that way, and it was only nurtured and fostered in the American environment that I was brought up in. Um,
Yeah, totally agree. And I've watched the film called Inside Out. There's one
yeah,
part of it I really like it. So everybody have a dark secret in your bottom of your heart. If you want to, you don't want to disclose it, you're actually scared of it. And if you just disclose it and you would tell, oh, this it's not a big deal. It's just a it's everybody has different dark secret, but once you share it out, you release those pressures and you feel like, oh, this is not a big deal, and you will feel more comfortable. The more you just keeping them down, the more pressures giving yourself, and that make your life more miserable. So
yeah.
I really appreciate you have this kind of and it give me like sunshine. You know, in the UK we lack of sunshine. In New York a lot of sunshine. So do you complain about that, the weather here?
Yes, I mean, I think for some reason, I don't know if it's because I am a foreigner, but winters here seem so much more severe. My friends and I were talking about this because we're international students. And of course, I do have friends who are UK nationals who were born and raised here or mostly raised here. But I don't know, I do have to say the weather, I came here knowing that the weather was going to be like this, but sometimes it can have a big influence on my mood, on my productivity. But I mean, i I chose to study here and I don't regret it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I will introduce you these lights. SAD light, SAD light. I show it to you. Can you see it?
I have one of those.
Okay, is it? Yeah, it's faded in the background. Yeah, because I found out one day we can bring our own sunlight to ourselves, and
Yeah.
when we just just instantly when it's watch it when I just face to it, don't never open your eyes to when you're face to it, and you will feel happy.
Lighter. Light, yeah,
Lighter. Yeah, exactly. So
definitely.
yeah, I really enjoy this conversation with you when I feel like the sunshine from New York.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel it with me every day. But it's funny. My mom got me one of those like synthetic sun lamps for Christmas. But I digress.
You don't
Uh,
need it.
yeah, I
Do you
do.
have any hobbies? Do you have any hobbies?
Yes. So I love dancing. I've been training. I trained in ballet from the ages of 2 to 18 in a pre-professional program. It really just started out as recreational. You know how a lot of kids, a lot of parents put them in piano, soccer, ballet, swimming, all these different things to kind of test out their, like, it's an aptitude test almost, or to see what their interests are. I guess in my eyes, my mom knew that I was a very active baby. I loved moving more than anything. I loved music. And so she said, well, why don't I just put her in dance classes? Then the way I see it is I just never stopped. I
Great.
stayed,
Which
yeah.
level are you on now, the ballet dance?
Well, I don't know level. I guess in a way there was a time in my life around 12 to 13 when I was asking myself, do I want to go professional? And to be honest, I definitely think I could have. Um, but I didn't want to sacrifice my education. I didn't want to sacrifice a normal life that I wanted to dance. And in a way, I wanted to keep it a joy in my life. And so making it my profession, my, like, making my livelihood kind of reliant on it did not seem like an attractive lifestyle to me.
I
Um,
see.
but I love dancing. I'm on the dance team for Queen Mary right now. I'm on their competitive ballet team. And I love it. I also love hiking and camping. Um, I love nature. I feel like when I travel, like for example, I went to Ireland with my family a few years ago during the summer, and we were hiking, and it was lovely. I love mixing, like, natural scenery and kind of physical activity while traveling. That's one of my favorite things to do.
That sounds exciting. So, what is your subject at the moment in the university? What are you
So
studying?
yes, so I'm a liberal arts student. Another cultural shock aspect, going back to the question that you asked me, in the UK, I didn't know how the education system worked. Um, this is gonna sound a bit unserious, I guess. But I thought to myself, oh, I mean, I want to study abroad for my, like, university experience. I don't want to have too much of a language barrier, and I want to study in a city with a good transportation system in a metropolitan area that's very, multicultural, that's diverse, that's efficient, and so London was pretty much the next stop in my mind. Um, but when I got here, when I was applying, I didn't understand that you kind of have to choose what you're going to study first and then apply. Because in the US, you just get accepted into a university and then you can choose your major. There's a lot more freedom, there's a lot more flexibility. And so when I applied here, I went for a very broad degree, which a lot of people don't see as, an effective route. But for me, I would much rather have time, take my undergraduate experience, to use that time to explore different fields. So liberal arts includes humanities, modern languages, and social sciences. And so I really wanted to get as, I guess, far-reaching of a grip as I could. And so currently I'm thinking of going more into social sciences over humanities, and then with the addition of cultural and language acquisition, which is my Mandarin. Um, but yeah, I really am interested in those types of fields.
I find it's a really really broad subject because in our culture, I mean in back in Eastern culture, art is most of the time it's not the most priority choices for the parents, mainly for academic side you need to study because we have an old saying that if you learn maths and 数理化 maths physics and biology chemistry and you can go anywhere of the world. But I think this is not nowadays because the AI modernized communication, so many tools and we can ask questions. So the asking question becomes more important. in a lifetime learning skills. We can ask them everything, but being happy is, I think, for life, personal lifestyle, is the skills to be happy is even more difficult,
Yeah.
because you have so many interests, and that's good for you to keep self-entertaining. I really appreciate that. So you told me the story about you are learning dancing. Your parent didn't was not the typical parents that's pushing you, pressing you to do the trainings every day, or to go on the grades and pass any exams, but it's more like your personal interests, and they found you have such potential. So I was saying, so, but you said that you still want to have your dancing as a hobby, but in the meantime, you still want to have your studying. So for all these instinct choices, and for example, back to when did you start realize you were adoptee, and when did you learn, think about your life? Because just meaning of your life or anything. So when did you start to have this type of a series of questions in your mind?
I think again, being a very inquisitive person naturally from a young age, I always knew. I think when you're young, social constructs and just your understanding of how society works, it is so underdeveloped. And so my mom made sure that, knowing that I'm adopted and knowing that I was different from, like, that our family was different from most of the families that I saw every day, um was an integral part of my development, I guess, my understanding of society. I don't exactly know how, but she would just say, "You're adopted," and be like, "What?" And I would say, "Well, what's adoption?" She said, "You know how a lot of people have kids, and then other people just take care of them." And I think that's really the origin of my understanding. And then as I got older, it got more like it. I had a better, more complex understanding. Um, and yeah, I was never insecure about it, and it was never a moment of, oh my goodness, it was never a bad thing. It was always a good thing that I just knew. And also, looking at my family, it is pretty obvious. So even as a little kid, I look obviously nothing alike like my family as opposed to other kids. And so I think that was kind of a good way for me to understand, kind of conceptualize adoption.
And do you have any, just mention other kids, do you have any siblings around living with you?
Yes, so I have an older sister. We are 4 years apart, and she's from Anhui. And we're not biologically related, and we are completely different people. Our personalities are just completely different, but I really, really like that dynamic. My family, it's always just been us three. My mom never married, and she adopted both of us as a single mom, and she raised us as a single mom. And coming from an all girls biracial family, um, I would say that it's given me the most amazing life that I could imagine. But yeah, I do have a sibling, an older sister, not biologically related, but she is still obviously my sister. Um, so yeah.
We will need to honor your mom. She's a great woman, super woman, and because you never be afraid of like a economic side, financially insecure. So do you ever think of how you make a living in the future, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've wondered, how did my mom do that? There are times that I really do think, wow, she must be some type of like superhuman or something, because she makes it look easy. And I've wondered about that. I've wondered, like, are we okay financially? Am I going to be okay financially if I, like, follow her footsteps? And of course she's never pressured either of us to do that. But honestly, she always made sure that we were comfortable, that we knew that we were supported, and that she would never let us down. And I really, really appreciate that.
Really, thank you for sharing so many of your stories with us, and I'm really, really impressed. And this is first time ever for my life to talk to an adoptee, and because I was afraid of asking questions actually, that I don't want to be offended, I don't want to ask any wrong questions, and
It's hard to offend me when you're just asking questions. Honestly, I'm a very, very open book. So,
that's
and I,
nice. That welcome. I opened my open book. I really like it. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you.
it's
And
fun.
do you ever the last final maybe is the most difficult questions, but you can choose to answer or not. That do you ever think about finding your birth parent?
Yeah. This is interesting because Xiaoxin and I were talking about this. And for a long time, I mean, it's ever since I've realized what being adopted really meant, and as I've gotten older, I have wondered. I wonder what their names are. I wonder how they met. I wonder who I look like, you know? But it's not out of spite or it's not out of sadness or anger. It's out of, I guess, in a way, just pure curiosity and gratitude, for giving them, for understanding that they gave me this life, that they gave me this opportunity to have this life, and it could have turned out either way. But yeah, I wonder about it. There was a search going on in Hunan, in Changsha, which is where, like near where I was. I was more like in Juzhou, but there was something going on about these DNA tests a few years ago or even a few months ago, and I guess I just never got around to doing it. But again, I think that just reflects how I'm not in a rush. I mean, I wonder about them, but I'm not insecure about it, and I'm not upset about it. It's just kind of like harmless questions.
Just let it be.
Yeah.
Let fate choose. And I really say that you've got a very good gene from your birth parents, and you are beautiful and bright. And I really, really thank you for your time. And I hope more audience see these, and they will have they give them some different kind of thoughts about your world. And I hope one day you can enjoy the rest of your, I mean, the education, the university life in the UK, and welcome back next time
Thank
to
you.
my
Thank you so
chat room.
much.
Okay.